Welcome, dear listener, to another journey through the whispers of history. Tonight, we explore the life of one of England's most iconic and formidable rulers, Queen Elizabeth I, known as the Virgin Queen. She ruled with cunning, intelligence, and an unwavering hand, earning both admiration and fear across Europe. Tonight, we will uncover how Elizabeth I, a woman in a world dominated by men, rose to power and became England's most feared ruler. So settle into your bed, close your eyes, and let the story unfold. Elizabeth Tudor entered the world on a September morning in 1533, a time when the Kingdom of England was already steeped in uncertainty and political tension. She was the daughter of King Henry Roman VIII, a monarch whose desire for a male heir had set England on a turbulent course, and Anne Boleyn, a woman whose charm and intelligence had captivated the king, but whose fortune was as fragile as the courtly heirs of the palace itself. From the very beginning, Elizabeth's life was intertwined with danger, expectation, and the subtle, invisible games of power that defined the Tudor dynasty. As a child, Elizabeth's earliest experiences were marked by both privilege and peril. She was born into royalty, a position that granted her the finest tutors, the most elaborate education, and a life surrounded by the luxuries of the palace. Yet the world around her was one in which favor and fortune could change with frightening swiftness. Her mother, once adored by Henry Roman VIII, would fall from grace almost as quickly as she had risen, leaving young Elizabeth to witness the precarious nature of royal existence. This awareness of fragility would stay with her throughout her life, shaping her perspective on power, loyalty, and survival. Elizabeth's earliest memories must have been a mixture of wonder and quiet apprehension. The royal court, with its glittering halls, long corridors, and constant procession of courtiers, was a place of fascination, but also of subtle menace. Every glance, every whisper, and every smile could carry meaning far beyond what the innocent eye might perceive. In these early years, Elizabeth learned the first lessons that would define her as a ruler: observation, discretion, and patience. She had to learn to measure her words, to listen more than she spoke, and to recognize that intelligence often needed to be hidden behind a gentle, compliant exterior. The sudden execution of her mother, Anne Boleyn, when Elizabeth was only 2.5 years old, was a traumatic event that left an indelible mark on her young mind. In the grand tapestry of English history, this moment is often recounted with a focus on political ramifications, but for Elizabeth, it was personal. The woman who had given her life and love, whose laughter and affection she had known in fleeting moments, was gone, condemned by a king whose mood could shift like the wind. Elizabeth herself was declared illegitimate, her place in the line of succession stripped away, a shadow of her potential standing in the royal hierarchy. Despite this, Elizabeth's early years were not defined by despair. Her education became her refuge, a realm in which her intelligence could flourish without the immediate dangers of courtly intrigue. Tutors guided her in Latin, Greek, French, and Italian, languages that opened doors to literature, philosophy, and history far beyond the borders of England. She studied the lives of rulers, the strategies of generals, and the philosophies of thinkers whose ideas spanned centuries and continents. In these studies, Elizabeth was not merely learning facts. She was learning the subtle art of understanding people, of anticipating motives, and of interpreting the complex dance of power. Her intellect was exceptional, even in a court that valued learning. She showed a remarkable aptitude for rhetoric, able to debate and reason with a clarity and precision that often left her tutors astonished. But more than that, she developed an acute awareness of human emotion, a sensitivity that allowed her to detect ambition, deceit, and loyalty in those around her. From a young age, Elizabeth understood that the eyes and expressions of people could reveal truths that words might conceal. This understanding would become one of her most powerful tools in later years, enabling her to navigate the treacherous waters of politics with a calm and calculating demeanor. Elizabeth's childhood was also shaped by the complex web of family dynamics within the Tudor household. Her father's relationships with his wives, the political machinations of his court, and the rivalries between her siblings all created an environment in which trust was scarce and survival required intelligence and vigilance. Elizabeth watched as her siblings, including the volatile Mary and the charming yet politically fragile Edward, experienced the shifting tides of favor and legitimacy. These observations reinforced a lesson that would remain with her. Power was never guaranteed, and a ruler's security depended as much on perception and strategy as on birthright or authority. Amidst these challenges, Elizabeth developed an inner resilience, a quiet strength that allowed her to endure uncertainty without succumbing to fear. She learned to be self-reliant, to find comfort in her own mind, and to cultivate a sense of purpose that transcended the immediate dangers of her environment. Even as a child, she displayed an intuitive understanding of the importance of patience, of waiting for the right moment to act, and of using knowledge as a shield against those who might seek to manipulate or harm her. Elizabeth's relationships with her caretakers and tutors further reinforced these qualities. She formed attachments to those who nurtured her intellect and supported her growth, while remaining cautious of those whose loyalty was uncertain. Her tutors, recognizing her extraordinary potential, encouraged her curiosity, rewarded her diligence, and challenged her to think critically. In their guidance, she found not only education but also a model for leadership, the careful blending of knowledge, wisdom, and strategic discretion. As Elizabeth grew older, she became increasingly aware of the expectations placed upon her as a member of the royal family. Her every action, every word, and every gesture were scrutinized, and she quickly learned the delicate art of public presentation. She discovered that appearance and demeanor could be as powerful as policy, and that a calm, measured exterior could mask a mind teeming with intelligence and ambition. This understanding would serve her well in later years, allowing her to project authority and confidence even when faced with challenges that might have overwhelmed a less astute monarch. The political and religious upheavals of Elizabeth's early life also shaped her character and worldview. England was a nation in flux, swinging between Catholicism and Protestantism as successive monarchs attempted to impose their beliefs. Elizabeth observed the consequences of religious conflict, including persecution, imprisonment, and even execution, and she internalized the importance of pragmatism and moderation in matters of governance. She learned that rigid adherence to ideology could be dangerous, and that a successful ruler often needed to balance principle with practical considerations to maintain stability and authority. Elizabeth's adolescence was marked by both personal growth and increasing awareness of the complexities of power. She honed her skills in diplomacy, learning to navigate delicate social and political situations with grace and intelligence. She cultivated relationships with influential courtiers, building alliances that would serve her well in the future. Yet, she remained vigilant, aware that loyalty could be fleeting and that those closest to her might harbor hidden ambitions. Her experiences also fostered a profound sense of self-reliance and inner strength. Elizabeth developed a rich inner life, a combination of intellectual curiosity, moral reflection, and emotional resilience that allowed her to endure uncertainty and adversity with composure. She learned to draw upon her own judgment, to trust her instincts, and to remain steadfast in her goals, even when external circumstances seemed precarious. Throughout these formative years, Elizabeth's mind and character were being shaped in ways that would define her reign. She cultivated a balance of intelligence, caution, and ambition, combined with a deep understanding of human nature. She recognized the importance of perception, the power of knowledge, and the necessity of patience and strategy. These qualities, nurtured in the crucible of her early life, would become the foundation upon which she built her legendary authority and the fearsome reputation that would follow her throughout Europe. By the time Elizabeth reached young adulthood, she had already experienced more of the world's unpredictability and peril than many would encounter in a lifetime. She had witnessed the volatility of favor, the fragility of security, and the consequences of political and religious conflict. Yet, rather than succumbing to fear or despair, she had transformed these experiences into lessons in resilience, strategy, and leadership. She had learned to observe, to anticipate, and to act with both intelligence and caution, qualities that would prove indispensable when she eventually ascended to the throne. In the quiet moments of reflection, Elizabeth would have understood the unique position she held, a young woman in a turbulent world, shaped by loss and adversity, yet equipped with an extraordinary mind, remarkable education, and keen insight into human behavior. She was aware of the challenges that lay ahead, yet confident in her ability to navigate them with intelligence, discretion, and determination. The seeds of her future power, wisdom, and fearsome reputation were already taking root in these early years, quietly preparing her to become one of England's most formidable and admired rulers. Her story reminds us that greatness often emerges not from unbroken ease or privilege, but from the careful cultivation of intellect, resilience, and strategic insight in the face of uncertainty. Elizabeth's early life was a testament to the power of observation, the strength of character, and the subtle art of turning adversity into advantage. It was in these formative years, through trial, education, and keen awareness of the fragile dynamics around her, that Elizabeth Tudor began the transformation from a vulnerable child into a future queen whose intelligence and authority would command both respect and fear across the realm and beyond. And so, as the young Elizabeth moved through the corridors of her childhood home, navigating the complex and sometimes perilous world of the Tudor court, she carried with her the quiet strength, the astute judgment, and the enduring curiosity that would one day define her reign. Each lesson, each observation, and each challenge she faced became a building block in the foundation of her power. In the stillness of her early years, amid uncertainty and intrigue, Elizabeth Tudor was already learning the art of survival, strategy, and sovereignty, a preparation that would one day make her England's most feared and respected ruler. Elizabeth Tudor's journey to the throne was a path filled with uncertainty, delicate maneuvering, and subtle mastery of perception. After the death of her half-brother Edward VI, the young Protestant king whose brief reign had been guided by powerful advisors, England experienced a sudden and profound shift. Mary I, Elizabeth's half-sister, a devout Catholic, ascended the throne. For Elizabeth, these were years of quiet tension and careful observation, a period in which she had to navigate both personal survival and the unpredictable currents of politics and religion. Mary's reign was marked by intense efforts to restore Catholicism to England. The kingdom, still recovering from the religious upheaval initiated by Henry Roman VIII and carried forward through Edward's rule, became a landscape of anxiety and division. Elizabeth, as Mary's Protestant half-sister and a symbol of potential alternative authority, was regarded with suspicion. Her every word and gesture were scrutinized, and rumors of plots to place her on the throne often surrounded her. Though Mary did not immediately act against her, Elizabeth understood that her position was precarious. Every moment demanded discretion, patience, and vigilance. During these years, Elizabeth cultivated a careful strategy, balancing deference with quiet assertion. She had learned in her youth the art of observation, and she now applied it with precision. She maintained outward loyalty, demonstrating respect for Mary and compliance with the court's expectations, while simultaneously developing a network of contacts who would later support her cause. Her ability to navigate these dual roles of outward obedience and subtle self-preservation would become a hallmark of her leadership style. Elizabeth's time in this delicate position also allowed her to deepen her understanding of political and religious dynamics. She saw the dangers of rigid partisanship, the costs of unchecked ambition, and the importance of strategic alliances. She studied the motivations of those around her, the advisors, courtiers, and foreign diplomats who influenced Mary's decisions. She noted who could be trusted, who could be persuaded, and who represented threats. This period of exile from power, though uncomfortable, sharpened her intellect and honed her instincts for the complexities of governance. Elizabeth's education, which had been exceptional in her youth, now became a tool for survival and preparation. She immersed herself in literature, philosophy, and history, examining the reigns of rulers who had succeeded and failed before her. She analyzed the tactics of diplomacy, the principles of justice, and the nuances of negotiation. Each book, each conversation, each reflection was a step toward understanding how to wield power not with brute force alone, but with intelligence, strategy, and timing. Her awareness of her own image and reputation was also critical during this period. Elizabeth realized that perception could be as potent as authority. She maintained a demeanor of calm, dignity, and intelligence, projecting strength even while her position remained uncertain. Courtiers and foreign envoys alike noted her composure, her eloquence, and her sharp mind. Even those who doubted her potential for rulership could not ignore her presence or her growing ability to command attention and respect through subtlety and poise. The careful balance Elizabeth maintained during Mary's reign was tested on numerous occasions. She was occasionally suspected of involvement in plots against Mary, yet her careful navigation of these suspicions allowed her to survive. She understood that to act hastily or to reveal too much ambition could be disastrous. Instead, she cultivated patience, allowing situations to unfold while she remained vigilant, aware of opportunities, and ready to seize them when the time was right. Elizabeth's ascent to the throne required not only survival, but also the careful management of England's religious divisions. The country had experienced decades of oscillation between Protestantism and Catholicism, leaving the population wary and divided. Many feared further upheaval, persecution, or instability. Elizabeth recognized that her success as a monarch depended on more than personal ambition. It required the restoration of stability and confidence across the realm. When Mary I passed away in 1558, Elizabeth assumed the throne at the age of 25. It was a moment of both triumph and immense responsibility. She inherited a kingdom still fragile from religious strife, political intrigue, and foreign tension. Elizabeth approached her new role with a blend of courage, intelligence, and deliberate strategy. She understood that her reign would be measured not only by her authority, but by her ability to unite the people and navigate a complex international landscape. One of Elizabeth's first and most significant acts as queen was her religious settlement. She took the title of Supreme Governor of the Church of England, a careful and deliberate choice that allowed her to consolidate Protestant authority while avoiding direct confrontation with those loyal to Catholicism. She sought a middle way, a path of compromise and pragmatism, that demonstrated both wisdom and strategic foresight. This settlement was a testament to her understanding of the delicate balance between principle and practicality, a skill she had honed during her years of careful observation and survival. Elizabeth's approach to governance was marked by a keen awareness of symbolism and ceremony. She understood that the authority of a monarch was reinforced not only by law and policy, but by perception, ritual, and image. Her coronation was a carefully orchestrated display of grandeur and legitimacy, designed to project power and continuity. She cultivated a persona that blended majesty with approachability, intelligence with grace, and firmness with charm. These qualities helped to establish her authority early in her reign, earning the respect and cautious admiration of her subjects. At the same time, Elizabeth remained vigilant to threats both internal and external. She relied on a network of trusted advisors, men and women whose loyalty had been tested and proven. Among them, William Cecil, later Lord Burghley, became a central figure in her administration, providing counsel, political guidance, and strategic insight. She also maintained correspondence with foreign leaders, carefully balancing alliances, negotiations, and the potential for conflict. Elizabeth's early reign demonstrated her skill in combining diplomacy, intelligence, and strategic foresight to protect her throne and strengthen her position. Elizabeth's personal qualities were equally critical in shaping her feared reputation. She displayed remarkable patience, a quality cultivated from years of navigating uncertainty and intrigue. She was cautious in her decisions, yet decisive when action was required. She listened carefully, weighing counsel and considering consequences, yet she retained the final authority to act according to her judgment. This combination of caution and decisiveness created an aura of strength and unpredictability that both inspired loyalty and intimidated potential adversaries. Her charisma and intelligence further enhanced her influence. Elizabeth had a remarkable ability to inspire those around her, whether through her eloquence, her understanding of human nature, or her careful attention to individuals' strengths and ambitions. She fostered loyalty by recognizing talent, rewarding service, and maintaining a sense of fairness tempered by firmness. Her ability to balance authority with respect, strategy with diplomacy, and firmness with charm made her a ruler whose power was both subtle and formidable. Elizabeth's early reign also required careful attention to foreign policy. England's position in Europe was precarious, and the Queen faced challenges from powerful neighbors, including France and Spain. She understood that military strength alone would not secure her nation's interests. Diplomacy, alliances, and intelligence were equally important. She carefully navigated relationships with foreign powers, projecting confidence and intelligence while remaining alert to potential threats. This strategic approach enhanced her reputation as a ruler whose authority extended beyond England's borders, making her both respected and feared on the international stage. Even within her court, Elizabeth's leadership style reinforced her reputation for wisdom and caution. She surrounded herself with advisors whose skills complemented her own, who could provide expertise in areas where she sought guidance, and who demonstrated loyalty and discretion. She maintained control over decision-making, carefully weighing options, listening to counsel, and retaining authority to act decisively. This careful balance of consultation and authority ensured that her reign was both effective and respected, further solidifying her image as a ruler whose intelligence and foresight could not be underestimated. Elizabeth's approach to power was not merely reactive, it was proactive, deliberate, and strategic. She anticipated challenges, considered consequences, and positioned herself to respond with intelligence and precision. Her early actions as queen demonstrated a keen understanding of timing, perception, and influence. She recognized that authority was reinforced by careful planning, measured action, and an ability to remain calm and composed in the face of uncertainty. These qualities, honed over years of preparation and careful observation, became hallmarks of her reign and key factors in her feared reputation. In addition to political skill, Elizabeth understood the importance of public image and morale. She cultivated a persona that inspired confidence and loyalty, projecting strength and intelligence while maintaining accessibility. She was aware that the people's perception of their ruler could influence stability, obedience, and national identity. Through speeches, ceremonies, and personal appearances, she communicated authority, wisdom, and fairness. Her ability to manage public perception complemented her political acumen, reinforcing her control and enhancing her reputation as a formidable leader. Elizabeth's early reign also demonstrated her adaptability. She faced crises, internal unrest, and the lingering tension of religious division with a combination of firmness, pragmatism, and strategic foresight. She adjusted policies as needed, balanced competing interests, and maintained stability in a kingdom still recovering from decades of turbulence. Her capacity to adapt, combined with her intelligence, patience, and understanding of human nature, enabled her to consolidate power effectively and maintain authority in a challenging environment. Throughout this period, Elizabeth's personal qualities, intelligence, patience, discernment, and strategic foresight, shaped both her reign and her reputation. She was neither impulsive nor predictable, but measured, calculated, and deliberate in action. Her ability to navigate complex political landscapes, manage perception, and inspire loyalty while maintaining control established her as a ruler whose authority and influence were undeniable. These early years as queen, defined by careful strategy, cautious decision-making, and deliberate consolidation of power, laid the foundation for the enduring legacy of Elizabeth I. By the end of these formative years on the throne, Elizabeth had transformed from a cautious, observant young woman into a confident and capable monarch. She had mastered the delicate balance of power, influence, and perception. She had demonstrated intelligence, patience, and foresight in both domestic and international affairs, and she had begun to cultivate the aura of authority, control, and subtle intimidation that would make her England's most feared and respected ruler. Her journey to power was not defined by sudden conquest or violent upheaval, but by careful preparation, strategic foresight, and unwavering patience. Elizabeth's ability to observe, learn, and act with precision ensured that when she finally claimed the throne, she did so not only with legitimacy, but with the intelligence, skill, and calculated authority that would define her remarkable reign. And so, as Elizabeth assumed the crown and looked upon her kingdom, she carried with her the lessons of years spent navigating uncertainty, the knowledge gained through careful observation, and the strategic insight honed over decades. Her early reign was a testament to the power of patience, intelligence, and foresight, a demonstration of how a ruler could rise not merely by birthright, but through wisdom, strategy, and unwavering determination. Elizabeth Tudor's reign was shaped not only by her claim to the throne or her careful consolidation of power, but by her unparalleled mastery of political strategy and the intricate web of espionage that she wove across England and beyond. From the very moment she assumed authority, Elizabeth understood that ruling a kingdom required more than intelligence, charm, or legitimacy. It demanded a deep understanding of human nature, a keen awareness of alliances and rivalries, and the ability to manipulate both perception and reality in ways that would protect her throne and strengthen her influence. Even as a young queen, Elizabeth recognized the subtle power of information. Knowledge, she understood, was a currency more valuable than gold or armies, for it allowed her to anticipate threats, manipulate opponents, and maintain authority without resorting to violence unless absolutely necessary. She cultivated networks of loyal advisors and agents who could gather intelligence, monitor dissent, and provide insights that would guide her decisions. Among these figures, Sir Francis Walsingham, her principal spymaster, emerged as a crucial partner in Elizabeth's administration. Walsingham's network of informants, cryptographers, and double agents became an extension of the Queen's own mind, enabling her to detect plots, intercept dangerous correspondence, and act decisively against those who sought to undermine her rule. Elizabeth's engagement with espionage was both pragmatic and highly strategic. She knew that threats to her throne came not only from rebellious nobles or foreign powers, but also from individuals within her own court. Courtiers whose loyalty could be uncertain were capable of shifting allegiances if it served their ambition. Foreign envoys, who arrived under the guise of diplomacy, often carried hidden agendas that could destabilize her reign. Elizabeth's genius lay in her ability to perceive motives beneath appearances, to read between the lines of conversation, and to assess the intentions of those who surrounded her. In this way, she transformed espionage from a mere tool into an art form, using it to shape policy, anticipate crises, and maintain dominance in an unpredictable political landscape. Elizabeth's mastery of political intrigue was also evident in her dealings with foreign powers. She understood that England's position in Europe required careful diplomacy, strategic alliances, and occasional deception. Spain and France, the continent's most powerful kingdoms, constantly tested England's resolve, each seeking to extend influence over the island nation or exploit its internal divisions. Elizabeth, aware of the stakes, cultivated a careful balance between assertiveness and subtlety. She projected an image of calm authority and intellect, yet remained vigilant, ready to act when opportunity or necessity dictated. Through careful negotiation, strategic marriages proposed and withheld, and careful manipulation of alliances, she ensured that England remained a sovereign power capable of defending itself, even against seemingly insurmountable forces. Within her own court, Elizabeth demonstrated remarkable skill in controlling perception. She understood that fear and respect were powerful tools for maintaining authority. By carefully managing her own image, she conveyed intelligence, decisiveness, and an aura of unpredictability. Courtiers never knew precisely where they stood with her. A misstep could lead to public admonishment, withdrawal of favor, or, in extreme cases, imprisonment. Yet, her firmness was tempered by fairness and a capacity to reward loyalty and competence. This careful calibration of reward and deterrence created a court in which obedience, vigilance, and strategic thinking were constantly reinforced. Those who served her understood that Elizabeth's favor was both a gift and a test, and that survival and advancement required discretion, intelligence, and loyalty. Elizabeth's reliance on Walsingham and his intelligence network extended far beyond the borders of England. Foreign plots against her were detected, often before they could gain momentum. Letters in code, intercepted and deciphered by Walsingham's agents, revealed conspiracies, treacheries, and plans of assassination. The nobles who might have acted impulsively were restrained by the knowledge that their intentions were monitored, and Elizabeth, fully aware of the information at her disposal, could act with precision, choosing the right moment to strike or negotiate, ensuring that her power remained unchallenged. Even when dealing with high-ranking nobles, Elizabeth exhibited remarkable patience and strategy. She often allowed rival factions to voice complaints, plot subtly, or test her reactions, while she observed and calculated her responses. By feigning indecision or even vulnerability, she lulled potential enemies into a false sense of security, encouraging them to reveal ambitions or weaknesses that could later be used against them. This combination of patience, observation, and calculated response reinforced her reputation as a ruler whose intellect and foresight were unmatched. To those who underestimated her, Elizabeth became a figure both intriguing and fearsome, a sovereign whose authority could never be assumed to be passive or naive. Elizabeth's intelligence strategy extended to her management of public information and propaganda. She understood that public perception was a powerful tool for consolidating authority. Through speeches, appearances, and carefully crafted ceremonies, she projected an image of wisdom, resolve, and divine sanction. She was never a ruler who relied solely on fear. Her power was augmented by admiration and awe. Citizens, nobles, and foreign observers alike understood that Elizabeth was a monarch whose intellect, patience, and strategic brilliance commanded attention and respect. This careful management of perception strengthened her position, reducing the likelihood of rebellion and enhancing her ability to maneuver politically. One of the most striking aspects of Elizabeth's approach to power was her understanding of timing. She recognized that the effectiveness of a decision or action often depended not only on its content, but on its execution. She waited for moments when action would have the maximum impact, when opponents were vulnerable, or when public support could be secured. This patience, combined with her ability to anticipate the moves of others, allowed her to strike with precision, ensuring that her authority was reinforced and that potential threats were neutralized before they could escalate. Elizabeth's mastery of political strategy and espionage was further reflected in her handling of religious conflict. England remained divided, with tensions between Catholics and Protestants threatening to destabilize the nation. Elizabeth navigated this landscape with prudence and subtlety. Her religious settlement, which established her as supreme governor of the Church of England, combined principle with compromise, asserting authority while avoiding unnecessary provocation. She understood that overt aggression or rigid dogma could incite rebellion or alienate allies. Instead, she employed subtle influence, careful legislation, and strategic appointments to consolidate power, maintain stability, and reduce conflict. Her ability to balance religious principle with political pragmatism reinforced her reputation as a ruler whose intellect and foresight were unmatched. In addition to her strategic and diplomatic skill, Elizabeth's personal qualities contributed to her feared reputation. Her intelligence was complemented by a remarkable memory, a capacity for analysis, and a deep understanding of human psychology. She could recall details from years past, assess the motivations of those around her, and craft responses that were both subtle and decisive. Her demeanor, calm yet commanding, inspired confidence among her supporters while instilling caution among her adversaries. Those who faced her understood that she was neither impulsive nor easily intimidated, but patient, calculating, and capable of acting decisively when circumstances demanded. Elizabeth's use of spies and informants also reinforced her ability to control the court and the kingdom. Nobles and courtiers, aware that their actions and words could be monitored, were encouraged to act with caution, loyalty, and discretion. This atmosphere of careful observation extended beyond England's borders, influencing foreign envoys, diplomats, and potential adversaries. Elizabeth's reputation as a monarch whose intelligence and vigilance were unmatched became a subtle form of power in itself. The knowledge that one's actions were under scrutiny instilled caution and respect, ensuring that her authority remained unchallenged and her throne secure. Her strategic brilliance was complemented by her ability to inspire loyalty and admiration. Elizabeth recognized that effective leadership required not only control, but also the cultivation of relationships. She rewarded competence, valued loyalty, and recognized talent, creating a network of advisors, allies, and supporters whose dedication was reinforced by both respect and careful calculation. Her ability to balance firmness with fairness, intellect with diplomacy, and authority with personal engagement created a court in which loyalty was earned, respected, and maintained. Elizabeth's reputation as a feared and respected ruler extended beyond her immediate sphere. Foreign leaders, diplomats, and monarchs understood that England under Elizabeth was a nation governed by intelligence, foresight, and strategic acumen. Her decisions were calculated, her alliances carefully managed, and her authority consistently reinforced. Even powerful kingdoms such as Spain and France, accustomed to the traditional dominance of European monarchs, were forced to acknowledge that Elizabeth's England was a sovereign power whose ruler could not be underestimated. Throughout her reign, Elizabeth continued to refine her mastery of politics and espionage. She adapted to new threats, learned from past experiences, and adjusted her strategies to maintain stability, strengthen authority, and protect her kingdom. Her approach was neither rigid nor impulsive. It was a careful blend of intelligence, foresight, and pragmatism. She understood that effective governance required constant vigilance, careful observation, and the ability to act decisively when opportunity or necessity demanded. Elizabeth's skillful management of intrigue and intelligence also extended to her handling of succession and marriage negotiations. She recognized that her position as a female ruler in a male-dominated society carried both symbolic and practical challenges. Suitors, foreign powers, and internal factions sought to influence her decisions, each with their own ambitions and agendas. Elizabeth's careful handling of these matters, often through ambiguity, strategic proposals, and deliberate delay, reinforced her authority and ensured that her decisions were guided by the interests of the kingdom rather than external pressure. The Queen's mastery of politics and espionage was evident in her ability to anticipate, manipulate, and neutralize threats. She understood that power was not merely about force or legislation, but about perception, influence, and strategic advantage. Through intelligence gathering, careful observation, and calculated action, Elizabeth created an environment in which her authority was reinforced, her enemies deterred, and her kingdom stabilized. This combination of foresight, strategy, and subtle intimidation became a defining feature of her reign, establishing her as one of the most formidable rulers in European history. Elizabeth's use of espionage and strategic intelligence was not a mere instrument of control. It was a reflection of her understanding of human nature, her awareness of the fragility of power, and her commitment to securing her kingdom. Every intercepted letter, every carefully placed agent, and every calculated decision reflected her ability to see beyond immediate circumstances, to anticipate outcomes, and to act with precision. Her intelligence network became an extension of her own mind, allowing her to govern with insight, foresight, and an unyielding sense of authority. Even as she navigated the complex political landscape of England and Europe, Elizabeth maintained a persona that projected calm authority, intelligence, and dignity. She understood that the perception of strength could be as influential as strength itself. Courtiers, diplomats, and foreign powers recognized her as a ruler whose intellect, vigilance, and strategic skill made her both respected and feared. This careful management of image, combined with her mastery of espionage and political strategy, ensured that Elizabeth's authority was both secure and formidable. Her ability to combine diplomacy, intelligence, observation, and subtle intimidation became a hallmark of her reign. Elizabeth's court was a place of careful observation where loyalty was rewarded, threats were neutralized, and intelligence informed every decision. Her reputation as a feared and respected ruler extended throughout England and beyond, reinforcing her authority and ensuring that her kingdom remained stable, secure, and influential. By the middle years of her reign, Elizabeth's mastery of politics and espionage had become legendary. Her network of agents, her strategic use of information, and her careful cultivation of perception ensured that she could respond to threats with intelligence, precision, and foresight. Courtiers, nobles, and foreign powers alike understood that Elizabeth I was not a monarch to be underestimated. Her reputation as a ruler who combined intelligence, strategy, and subtle intimidation solidified her position as one of the most formidable and respected figures of her era. Elizabeth's genius lay not only in her ability to gather information, but in her capacity to synthesize knowledge, anticipate motives, and act decisively. She understood that power was a delicate balance of perception, influence, and action. Her mastery of espionage and political strategy ensured that her reign was both stable and formidable, and that her authority was recognized and respected across England and Europe. Through her careful navigation of intrigue, her strategic use of intelligence, and her subtle manipulation of perception, Elizabeth I demonstrated a level of political acumen and foresight that few rulers, male or female, have ever matched. She transformed England into a kingdom guided by strategy, vigilance, and calculated authority, ensuring that her reign would be remembered not only for its accomplishments, but for the formidable intelligence and mastery that defined her rule. And so, as Elizabeth I continued to navigate the challenges of governance, the complexities of diplomacy, and the ever-present threats to her throne, she solidified her reputation as a ruler whose intellect, foresight, and strategic skill were unmatched. Through patience, observation, and the subtle art of influence, she ensured that her authority remained unchallenged, her kingdom stable, and her legacy enduring. The mastery of politics and espionage that defined Elizabeth's reign became one of her most powerful tools, shaping not only her rule, but the course of English history itself. Elizabeth Tudor's reign was marked not only by political acumen and mastery of espionage, but also by her remarkable understanding of military strategy and leadership. Though she did not command armies on the battlefield herself, Elizabeth's ability to direct, inspire, and make decisive choices during times of conflict transformed England into a nation capable of defending itself against formidable adversaries. Her understanding of the interplay between morale, leadership, and tactical decision-making became one of the defining features of her rule. In the late 16th century, England faced a significant threat from Spain, one of the most powerful empires in the world. The Spanish Armada, a fleet of hundreds of ships, was prepared to invade England, restore Catholic dominance, and remove Elizabeth from power. The magnitude of this threat cannot be overstated. Spain's naval power, its experienced commanders, and the resources it could bring to bear were unmatched in Europe at that time. Many observers across the continent believed that England's defeat was inevitable, that Elizabeth's kingdom, small and still recovering from internal religious conflict, would be unable to withstand such a formidable force. Elizabeth's response to this looming danger demonstrated the same blend of intelligence, strategic foresight, and calm authority that had characterized her political maneuvering. She understood that leadership in times of crisis required more than issuing commands. It required inspiring confidence, coordinating resources, and anticipating the enemy's moves. She drew upon the counsel of her advisors, including Sir Francis Drake, Lord Howard of Effingham, and other experienced naval commanders, weighing their recommendations while maintaining ultimate authority over strategic decisions. The Queen's presence during this period of uncertainty was both symbolic and practical. She recognized the power of her persona in galvanizing her people and boosting morale among the troops. Elizabeth frequently visited military encampments, inspected preparations, and addressed her soldiers with eloquence, determination, and encouragement. These actions conveyed not only confidence in England's ability to resist invasion, but also a personal commitment to the defense of her kingdom. Her speeches, though carefully measured, carried an emotional weight that inspired loyalty, courage, and a willingness to endure hardship in the face of overwhelming odds. Elizabeth's understanding of naval strategy was both keen and subtle. She recognized the importance of mobility, intelligence, and innovative tactics in countering a larger and seemingly superior force. The English Navy employed smaller, faster ships capable of outmaneuvering the slower, heavier vessels of the Spanish Armada. Elizabeth supported these strategies, ensuring that her commanders had the resources, authority, and flexibility necessary to exploit weaknesses in the enemy's formation. Her ability to trust her commanders while maintaining oversight reflected a sophisticated balance between delegation and control. The defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588 stands as a testament to Elizabeth's leadership, both in planning and in symbolic inspiration. As the fleet approached the English coast, the nation braced for what seemed to be an inevitable confrontation. Yet Elizabeth remained composed, projecting confidence even in the face of immense danger. She famously visited the troops at Tilbury, where she delivered a speech that conveyed both personal courage and reassurance. Her words, imbued with dignity and determination, reinforced the idea that England's defense depended not only on military skill, but on unity, loyalty, and resolve. In addition to her personal presence, Elizabeth's strategic planning ensured that England was prepared for the logistical and tactical challenges of the conflict. Coastal fortifications were strengthened, militia units were mobilized, and intelligence networks were activated to monitor the Armada's movements. Elizabeth's ability to coordinate these efforts, while maintaining the appearance of calm authority, reflected a deep understanding of the interplay between preparation, perception, and morale. She knew that a well-prepared defense, combined with the confidence and loyalty of her people, could overcome even the most daunting threats. The victory over the Armada was not achieved through brute force alone. Weather, terrain, and tactical ingenuity all played critical roles. English commanders employed innovative strategies, including fire ships to disrupt the Armada's formation, coordinated attacks, and careful positioning to exploit the enemy's vulnerabilities. Elizabeth's role in overseeing these preparations, supporting decisive action, and sustaining morale was central to the success of the campaign. Her strategic vision, coupled with the skill of her commanders, turned what seemed to be a potential disaster into a triumph celebrated throughout Europe. Elizabeth's handling of the Spanish threat also reinforced her reputation as a feared and respected ruler. The victory demonstrated that her authority extended beyond political maneuvering. It encompassed the ability to safeguard her kingdom against powerful external enemies. Spain, once seen as invincible, had been checked by a combination of English naval innovation, strategic planning, and the resolute leadership of a queen who inspired confidence and loyalty. The triumph of 1588 sent a clear message to the continent. Elizabeth I was a ruler whose intellect, strategic skill, and courage could not be underestimated. Beyond the immediate military success, the campaign against the Armada had profound psychological and political effects. It solidified national identity, uniting English citizens in pride and admiration for their queen. The perception of Elizabeth as both intelligent and courageous enhanced her authority, making her subjects more willing to accept her decisions, trust her leadership, and contribute to the defense and prosperity of the kingdom. Her personal involvement, strategic oversight, and symbolic presence transformed the conflict from a purely military engagement into a demonstration of her sovereign authority and the resilience of her rule. Elizabeth's leadership during the Armada crisis also highlighted her ability to integrate diverse elements of power into a cohesive strategy. She combined political acumen, diplomatic insight, military planning, and personal charisma to ensure that every aspect of the response worked in harmony. Her intelligence networks provided critical information about enemy movements and intentions. Her naval commanders executed complex maneuvers with skill and precision. Her presence inspired confidence among troops and citizens alike. Together, these elements created a synergistic effect that maximized the effectiveness of England's defense and minimized the risks posed by a superior force. Throughout this period, Elizabeth demonstrated remarkable patience and timing. She understood that decisions made too hastily could lead to disaster, while delays or indecision could embolden her enemies. By maintaining a calm, deliberate approach, she allowed her commanders to plan effectively, her intelligence networks to gather critical information, and her subjects to prepare for the impending conflict. This combination of patience, observation, and strategic foresight was a hallmark of her leadership style, reinforcing her reputation as a ruler whose authority was both deliberate and formidable. Elizabeth's ability to inspire loyalty and courage extended beyond the battlefield. She cultivated an image of wisdom, resolve, and fairness that encouraged obedience, trust, and dedication. Soldiers, sailors, and citizens alike recognized that their queen was not distant or indifferent, but deeply invested in the well-being of her kingdom. Her speeches, visits, and personal attention to military matters reinforced the perception that she was both intelligent and courageous, a sovereign whose authority was grounded in competence, principle, and a commitment to the defense of her people. The defeat of the Spanish Armada also had significant long-term implications for Elizabeth's reign and for England's position in Europe. It demonstrated the effectiveness of strategic planning, innovation, and leadership in overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges. It enhanced Elizabeth's reputation as a ruler whose intelligence, foresight, and courage were unmatched, both at home and abroad. It strengthened national unity and pride, consolidating her authority and creating a foundation for continued stability and influence. Elizabeth's leadership in this period also underscored her understanding of the interplay between symbolism and action. She recognized that the perception of strength could be as influential as actual military power. By projecting confidence, participating in preparations, and addressing her troops directly, she reinforced the idea that England was a nation united, capable, and resilient. Her ability to combine symbolic presence with practical oversight amplified the effectiveness of her strategy and enhanced her personal authority. Even after the immediate threat of the Armada had passed, Elizabeth continued to leverage the lessons learned during this period. She maintained vigilance, strengthened naval defenses, and invested in intelligence networks to anticipate future threats. Her experience with the Armada reinforced the importance of preparation, strategic foresight, and the integration of political, military, and symbolic elements in governance. These insights would guide her decisions in the years to come, ensuring that her reign remained stable, secure, and influential. Elizabeth's handling of the Spanish threat also reflected her deep understanding of human nature. She knew that fear, uncertainty, and division could weaken her kingdom, while confidence, unity, and loyalty could enhance resilience and effectiveness. By inspiring confidence, coordinating strategic efforts, and demonstrating personal courage, she transformed a moment of potential crisis into an opportunity to strengthen her authority and consolidate national pride. Her ability to understand, anticipate, and influence the behavior of her subjects and adversaries alike was a testament to her intelligence, foresight, and mastery of leadership. The Armada crisis reinforced Elizabeth's image as a feared and respected ruler not only within England but throughout Europe. Monarchs, diplomats, and military leaders recognized her ability to anticipate threats, coordinate complex responses, and inspire loyalty and courage. Her reputation extended beyond mere political power. It encompassed the ability to protect her kingdom, make decisive strategic choices, and maintain authority in the face of formidable challenges. This multifaceted demonstration of leadership solidified her status as one of the most formidable rulers of her era. Elizabeth's mastery of military strategy and leadership was complemented by her ongoing attention to domestic governance. She recognized that a secure kingdom required not only successful defense but also economic stability, effective administration, and the maintenance of social order. By integrating military preparedness with careful governance, she ensured that England remained resilient, prosperous, and capable of responding to future threats. Her ability to balance these demands reflected a sophisticated understanding of the interconnections between power, security, and the welfare of her people. Even in the quiet moments following the Armada's defeat, Elizabeth's mind remained engaged with strategy, planning, and the long-term stability of her kingdom. She analyzed the lessons of the conflict, considered potential future challenges, and refined her approach to leadership, intelligence, and defense. Her ability to learn from experience, anticipate threats, and integrate diverse elements of power into a cohesive strategy was a hallmark of her reign, ensuring that her authority remained secure and her kingdom resilient. Elizabeth's triumph over the Spanish Armada thus stands as a testament not only to England's naval skill and innovative tactics, but also to her leadership, foresight, and intelligence. She transformed a potential disaster into a defining moment, consolidating her authority, inspiring loyalty, and reinforcing her reputation as a ruler whose intellect, courage, and strategic acumen were unmatched. The victory demonstrated that Elizabeth I was a sovereign capable of protecting her kingdom, making decisive strategic choices, and commanding respect and fear across Europe. In the years following the Armada, Elizabeth continued to leverage the lessons learned from this pivotal conflict. She maintained vigilance, strengthened defenses, and refined her approach to leadership, diplomacy, and strategy. Her ability to integrate political, military, and symbolic elements of power ensured that England remained secure, stable, and influential. Her reputation as a feared and respected ruler, forged in the crucible of the Armada, endured, reinforcing her authority and shaping the course of her reign for decades to come. Elizabeth's leadership during the Armada crisis exemplifies the qualities that defined her reign: intelligence, foresight, patience, courage, and strategic brilliance. She demonstrated the ability to inspire loyalty, coordinate complex efforts, and make decisive decisions under pressure. She understood the interplay between perception and reality, between morale and action, and between preparation and execution. Through these qualities, she transformed England into a resilient, capable, and respected nation, ensuring that her authority was secure and her legacy enduring. And so, as the Spanish threat faded into history, Elizabeth Tudor emerged not only as a victorious sovereign, but as a ruler whose intelligence, courage, and strategic mastery had reshaped the destiny of her kingdom. Her triumph over the Armada became a symbol of her authority, a demonstration of her leadership, and a testament to the enduring power of foresight, preparation, and unwavering resolve. Through her actions, she ensured that England would not only survive but thrive, and that her reign would be remembered as one defined by courage, wisdom, and the formidable skill of a queen who commanded both respect and fear. Elizabeth Tudor's reign stretched across 45 remarkable years, a period in which England underwent profound transformation, both internally and in its standing among European powers. As a ruler, Elizabeth's influence extended far beyond the immediate decisions she made. Her very presence shaped the political, cultural, and psychological landscape of her kingdom. The legacy she created was not simply the result of laws or battles won, but of the way she commanded respect, cultivated fear, and inspired loyalty. Even decades after her death, historians, poets, and scholars have marveled at the intricate combination of qualities that allowed a woman, in a world dominated by men, to assert authority with such enduring strength and subtle power. From the earliest days of her reign, Elizabeth demonstrated an extraordinary ability to integrate intelligence, strategy, and foresight. She was a monarch who understood the fragile nature of power, having witnessed the volatility of her father's court and the perilous fluctuations of her half-siblings' fortunes. These early experiences instilled in her the recognition that authority required careful cultivation, continuous observation, and a keen understanding of human behavior. Elizabeth's ability to balance firmness with diplomacy, insight with patience, and calculation with empathy became central to her legacy, creating a model of rulership that blended intellect, strategy, and personal magnetism. Elizabeth's court became a microcosm of her approach to governance. Within its walls, she exercised a subtle, almost imperceptible form of control, ensuring that loyalty was rewarded, ambition was tempered, and dissent was carefully monitored. Her courtiers quickly learned that while her favor could elevate them to positions of influence, her disfavor could be equally swift and unforgiving. She managed this delicate balance with remarkable skill, fostering a culture in which careful observation, discretion, and strategic thinking were essential for survival and advancement. Through this careful orchestration of her court, Elizabeth maintained an atmosphere of disciplined loyalty and cautious respect, reinforcing her authority while subtly inspiring fear. Her reputation for fearsome intelligence was further enhanced by her mastery of perception. Elizabeth understood that authority was as much about image as it was about action. She cultivated a public persona that projected wisdom, dignity, and control, carefully orchestrating her appearance, demeanor, and speech to communicate competence and command. She was aware that the eyes of her subjects, foreign diplomats, and potential adversaries were constantly upon her, and she leveraged this attention to reinforce her position. Even in moments of vulnerability or uncertainty, Elizabeth's composure and calculated presentation ensured that she remained a figure whose power could not be questioned. The fear Elizabeth inspired was not the fear of tyranny or cruelty alone. Rather, it was the fear born of intelligence, strategy, and unpredictability, Those who encountered her, whether as courtiers, diplomats, or adversaries, quickly realized that Elizabeth's mind was both sharp and unyielding. She could anticipate motives, discern hidden agendas, and respond with precision. This ability to combine insight with decisive action created an aura of formidable authority, a presence that discouraged rebellion, dissent, and opportunism. Even her allies understood that her intelligence and vigilance demanded respect, careful conduct, and unwavering loyalty. Elizabeth's legacy was also defined by her handling of religious tensions, a challenge that threatened the very stability of England throughout her reign. The kingdom she inherited was deeply divided, with factions loyal to both Catholicism and Protestantism vying for influence. Elizabeth's approach to this challenge was characterized by pragmatism, subtlety, and strategic compromise. She sought to unify the nation without provoking unnecessary conflict, carefully balancing the demands of principle and governance. Through the Elizabethan religious settlement, she established a framework that reinforced her authority while allowing for measured tolerance, ensuring that religious division did not destabilize her rule. Her ability to navigate this delicate terrain enhanced her reputation as a ruler whose wisdom and foresight extended beyond mere politics into the realm of social cohesion and moral authority. The fear and respect Elizabeth inspired were further solidified through her foreign policy. She maintained careful oversight of England's relations with neighboring powers, including Spain, France, and Scotland. Her strategic alliances, cautious diplomacy, and occasional displays of assertiveness ensured that England's sovereignty was protected and that foreign powers recognized her intelligence and authority. Elizabeth's ability to combine subtlety with decisiveness, to negotiate while simultaneously projecting strength, reinforced the perception that she was a monarch who could not be underestimated. Her reputation extended far beyond her own kingdom, influencing European politics and the calculations of rival rulers for decades. Elizabeth's personal qualities were central to the enduring impact of her reign. Her intelligence, patience, and capacity for strategic thinking were complemented by a remarkable understanding of human psychology. She recognized the power of loyalty, the influence of perception, and the necessity of cultivating both admiration and caution. Her interactions with courtiers, advisors, and foreign diplomats were guided by a keen awareness of motivation and consequence. She fostered loyalty through recognition and reward, tempered ambition with discretion, and maintained authority through both presence and action. This combination of personal insight and deliberate strategy became a defining feature of her rule, shaping the culture of her court and reinforcing her feared reputation. The cultural achievements of Elizabeth's reign also contributed to her legacy. Under her guidance, England experienced a flourishing of literature, art, and exploration. Figures such as William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, and Edmund Spenser emerged during this period, their works reflecting the intellectual and creative energy of the nation. Elizabeth's support of the arts was not merely patronage. It was an extension of her influence, a way to cultivate national identity, project sophistication, and reinforce the perception of England as a prosperous and enlightened kingdom. This cultural flourishing, intertwined with her strategic governance, further enhanced her reputation both domestically and abroad. Elizabeth's mastery of image and symbolism was evident in her careful presentation as the Virgin Queen. She cultivated the idea that her authority was autonomous, independent of marriage or male influence. This persona strengthened her political position, allowing her to maneuver freely within domestic and foreign spheres. It also reinforced the perception of Elizabeth as a ruler who embodied both intelligence and mystery, further amplifying the aura of respect and fear that surrounded her. Her carefully maintained public image ensured that her authority was not simply recognized but admired and revered. The fear she inspired was complemented by her skillful management of threats to her throne. Throughout her reign, Elizabeth faced conspiracies, plots, and potential uprisings. Her intelligence network, under the guidance of Sir Francis Walsingham and other trusted advisors, provided her with timely and accurate information. Elizabeth's responses to these threats were precise, measured, and decisive, reinforcing the understanding that any challenge to her authority would be met with calculated resistance. Her ability to neutralize danger without unnecessary display of force highlighted both her strategic brilliance and her capacity for subtle intimidation. Elizabeth's enduring influence extended into matters of succession and governance. She remained unmarried, leaving the question of succession unresolved, yet she managed this uncertainty with remarkable skill. By carefully negotiating alliances, cultivating trust among her advisors, and maintaining a balance between domestic stability and international diplomacy, Elizabeth ensured that her reign remained secure despite the potential vulnerabilities inherent in a female ruler without an heir. Her ability to navigate these challenges demonstrated an extraordinary combination of patience, foresight, and political skill. The psychological dimension of Elizabeth's legacy is also significant. She understood that power was reinforced not only by legislation, military victories, or diplomatic skill, but by the perception of authority and the emotional responses of her subjects and rivals. Elizabeth cultivated a persona that inspired both admiration and caution. Her subjects were encouraged to respect, revere, and, when necessary, fear her. Foreign powers recognized her intelligence, vigilance, and strategic skill. This cultivation of perception, combined with tangible demonstrations of competence, ensured that Elizabeth's authority remained both respected and formidable throughout her reign. Elizabeth's approach to governance, intelligence, and diplomacy also established a model for future rulers. Her combination of foresight, patience, strategic insight, and understanding of human nature provided lessons in leadership that extended far beyond her own time. She demonstrated that effective rulership depended not merely on force or inheritance, but on intelligence, perception, and the ability to inspire loyalty while maintaining authority. Her strategies in both domestic and international affairs have been studied for centuries as exemplary cases of political acumen, strategic foresight, and the subtle exercise of power. Even in her later years, Elizabeth continued to maintain her reputation as a feared and respected sovereign. She adapted to changing circumstances, addressed emerging threats, and refined her approach to governance and diplomacy. Her capacity for observation, analysis, and decisive action remained undiminished. Those who sought to challenge her authority, whether within England or abroad, understood that Elizabeth's intelligence, strategic skill, and capacity for calculated response made her a monarch whose power could not be underestimated. Elizabeth's legacy is also evident in the social and institutional structures she reinforced. Her careful management of the monarchy, court, and administrative apparatus created stability and continuity. She balanced authority with strategic delegation, ensuring that her advisors and officials